Kusheo, Aldi Bodi. What's up, good peoples? This is the Ancestry Chronicler of the Shawn J. Gandy. Thank you so much for stopping by my YouTube channel. Appreciation every single time. And of course, you know what to do. Please be sure to subscribe. And also be sure to like and share and leave a comment. Leave a comment. Let somebody know if you've been enjoying the content. Let somebody know about this channel. Just go ahead and you can go to the copy button, copy the link, share it to your social media platforms. And so I appreciate that. And definitely hit the like button. Let me get those thumbs up. And I'm still trying to hit 1,000 subscribers. So I will appreciate it if you help me out, because I could do that, but I could do that with you. And I want to do that with you. And so appreciation again. So today is, today's a special day. Today's a special day because today is my mother's birthday. Today is the day that my mother was born. And not just my mother, but my paternal great-grandfather. And so my mother was born on this day. My paternal great-grandfather was born on this day, and my paternal grandfather, not great-grandfather, my paternal grandfather, that's my father's father. And so he passed away in 1998. And so I cherish his memories. I cherish the time spent with him. My grandfather was unique. He was one of a kind, but he has passed away, and may he rest with the Lord. And my mother is still here with us. And my mother is she's just unique. She is just one of a kind. She's been through so much. My mother had several strokes. She had brain surgery. She had cranioscopy. She is still here with us. And she is alive. She is well. She's strong. She's a survivor. And she's a miracle, and I thank God for her. And so I was sharing with my mother the privilege that I had of being her caregiver, giving my mother care. And that's a privilege. That's an honor to be able to do that. And so I was sharing with my mother that, I appreciate the fact that I'm able to give back to her, because every time I do something for her, she's like, thank you. It's like, man, you don't got to tell me thank you. Like, you don't have to tell me thank you. I mean, I know you can. I know you're grateful, and so you're being courteous, and you're expressing how you feel. You're grateful, but you don't got to tell me thank you. You're my mother. And she said something to me that was just really, really interesting. My mother said to me, she said, Shawn, I wish I had the opportunity to be my mother's caregiver. And wow, that kind of hit me like really strange. Like, you know how just things just hit you, things hit differently. Well, that's one of those things that just hit me differently. My mother's mother, she passed away at the age of 47. And so my mother was 27 years old when her mother passed away. So she didn't have her in her life for a long time. And so what my mother meant by that, what she was insinuating was that she wished she had the opportunity to still have her mother here with her so that she could serve as her mother's caregiver, or B, she wished she had her mother in her life longer than what she did so she could have seen her mother go into her senior years and be there for her mother and to help be her mother's caregiver. And man, that just really hit me when my mom was sharing that, and it just made me just think and just appreciate the fact that we have our parents with us in their senior years. A lot of my friends lost their parents early. I know people who lost their parents early. My mom was 27. My mom's baby sister was 17. I can't imagine not having my mother in my 20s and in my 30s and in my 40s. And now, I'm 50 years old. I can't imagine, you know what I'm saying? So it's just like, it's just a wonderful thing. And something unique that I found out about my mother's mother, my grandmother, that she was the first African-American nurse in the New Brunswick school system in New Jersey. I did not know that. I did not know that she was the first. I remember the ceremony. It was actually at a school where I was, where I did some of my elementary years there. My brother and my sisters, and I remember the ceremony, but I didn't know what was. I knew they were honoring her. I just thought they was honoring her for being a good nurse. I didn't know that that her picture was hanging up, and it's the same picture here. And that's the picture that's hanging up, and they did a whole honorary thing to her, and in the nurse's office, a whole big station and things of that nature, for being the first African American nurse in the New Brunswick school system in the state of New Jersey. And so that's big. That's big, and I'm so glad that my grandmother was able to do that. That's a legacy to leave behind, and to hear people who are older than me, who went through the New Brunswick school system and had a chance to have her as their nurse, to hear the things that they say about my grandmother. Oh my goodness, it's unbelievable, because I know my grandmother was a sweetheart, but to hear other people say it, and then the way they talk about my grandmother, it's amazing. And so I do remember that ceremony, that my great grandfather was there, my grandmother's father. Her mother had already passed away, but her father was there. And so this leads me into this segue, is that I remember, and so these are my maternal grandmother's parents. They were born in 1904. And I love this picture here because I only knew them as seniors. That's me as a little child, and that's my brother's a year older than me. And so that's, so as you see, as children, they were already seniors. They were already, well in the age of seniorship, if you will. And so that's how I knew them. And so to see them in the pictures where they're younger and in love, and the smiles on their face, just that young love, that young black love, it's just awesome. It's awesome for me to see that, and I love that. And so, but I remember being the caregiver for my great grandfather. And so, born in 1904, I was not his primary caregiver. His oldest son, his only son, my grand uncle, Joseph Bonner Jr., was his caregiver. But when he would go on vacation, he would leave him with my parents. So my parents could be his caregiver. And we would, I was in college at the time, and I would come down and I would help my parents. And it was just such a privilege and an honor to be there for my great grandfather. And so I remember, just being able to serve in that duty, serve in that platform, and the fact that he held me in his arms, the fact that he took care of me, that he showed me love. Listen, I have the fondest memories of my great grandparents. I remember sitting on the back porch in rocking chairs, and we would warm ourselves by a pot belly stove. And my great grandfather taught me and my brother how to take coal and shove it into the potbelly stove to keep the fire burning, and how to take pieces of logs of wood and throw it up in there to keep the fire burning. This is when we were children, and then we would just sit around in the rocking chairs, and the adults would talk, and my great grandparents would share information about their childhood. And I wish I knew at the time then to be detailed, to ask them specific, detailed questions about their parents, about their grandparents, if they had any memories about their great grandparents. I wish I knew to ask questions that I would ask now as a genealogist. I wish I knew as a child to have asked those questions with them at that time. But just the fact that, to know that they cared for me, that they raised my grandmother, they raised my mother, and then to see them there holding me and my brother in their hands. My sisters have very limited memory of them because they were much younger. And then years later, I was able to serve as my great grandfather's caregiver. It means a lot to me. it just hits hard. It hits me in such a crazy way. And here's the thing: is that he was my great grandfather. I was coming down. I was just showing him love. I loved the man. I loved him to death. Everybody was like, "Oh, you look just like him," and things of that nature. So I had this affinity for him and his stories, and he had this little saying that he would go, "Can you imagine that?" And he was just an amazing person. And so, but it never dawned on me how what I was doing, my parents, his son, my granduncle, and his wife, and other family members, how it affected him, how it touched him, of the love that we were giving to him as serving as his caregiver in his senior years when he was his most volatile. Sorry, wrong word, not volatile, but when he was his most vulnerable. When he was just vulnerable, he was an elderly man. I believe he passed away. I want to say he was in his 90s when he passed away, and he went blind in his later years. Not completely blind, but he couldn't see very well. I don't remember if he had cataracts or glaucoma, but he just couldn't see very well. And so just the fact that we were able to be there to serve him and to take care of him. And my mother shared this with me last week when my mother and I was talking about it. My mother said she wished that she could have been the caregiver for her mother. Is that she said, when I brought up the fact that I said, "Ma," I said, we serve this as your grandfather's caregiver, not the primary caregiver, but we had the opportunity to serve as caregiver." And my mother said, and he would well up with tears. Tears would well up in his eyes on how happy he was that his grandchildren, his children, his great grandchildren were able to be there for him and to take care of him. And so to know now that moved my great grandfather to tears, that's just special. Like that's special. That's something I'll never ever forget. And so I want to share this. My purpose of sharing this is that I want to let my audience know that as you're researching and you're doing genealogy, don't just leave it on the paper. Don't just leave it as on the computer, but it has to be that tangible. It has to be that flesh on flesh connection as well. If your parents are seniors and they're up in their age, be there for them. Serve as their caregiver as much as you can. Your grandparents, your great grandparents. If you're blessed enough to have your second great grandparents there, love on them as well. I know life bombards us from day to day, and it seems like we just don't have enough time to be there and things of that nature. I get it, but sometimes you got to be aggressive and take time. Because we take time for the things we want to do. And sometimes you just got to take time and go spend it with the seniors in your family and love on them and be there for them. And for all those who are serving in the roles of caregivers whether it's for your parents, whether it's for your grandparents, whether it's for I know folks who's serving as caregivers for their aunts, for their uncles, for their grand aunts, for their granduncles, for their elderly siblings that are older than them. It's awesome. It's an awesome opportunity, and for you, I say thank you. And if you don't know, you are a blessing in the lives of those who you serve as caregivers. And so, to the youth who think that you'll always have your parents around, you'll always have your grandparents around, you'll always have your great grandparents around, but I gotta go spend time with my friends. Listen, you won't always have them around. Take the opportunity and just sit with them. Sometimes just sitting with them, sometimes just hearing their story. And I'll say this and then I'll go because, I could talk all day about this stuff, but there's nothing more special to me. This ranks up there, things that are special. And talking with the elderly and hearing them reminisce and seeing that little child in them come out. when I'm with my dad's mother, my grandmother, and I share, when I discover things and I need information, and I call her up and we talk, whatever, and I go look at her photo albums, and then she'll start reminiscing about, oh, I remember that person. I remember, oh, that was my cousin, that was my first cousin. I remember playing together, and I see the little child in her come out as she's remembering her childhood, the joys, the experience that she had with family who are no longer here. Family that's no longer here. People that she loved, people that meant the world to her that are no longer here. And so they're in her memory, they're in her heart. And to see that youthfulness come out of her when she talks about them, priceless. Priceless. All right. So yeah, I don't care how many generations separate you from your loved ones, how many generations you are apart. Find out that thing that connects you, that intersects your lives together. And I've always spent, time with my great grandparents. My father and my mother always took us around them, and I'll cherish those moments. But when my mother told me that my great grandfather cried, tears of joy, with me and my cousin Leon. My cousin Leon's on my dad's side. My first cousin on my dad's side, but he would help me put my great grandfather in the bed, get him out of the bed, and we talk about it. He's like, man, remember, the time he would spend helping great grandfather in and out the bed and things of that nature. Priceless, and to know that meant the world to him, and that brought tears of joy to his eyes, flooded him with emotions. Now that I have that knowledge and understanding that although we were 4 generations apart, where our lives intersected in his final years, as being able to serve as his caregiver, priceless. Priceless. All right, listen, I'm the Ancestry Chronicler, Shawn J. Gandy. Please be sure, ladies and gentlemen, to subscribe. Please be sure to like. Please be sure to share and leave a comment. So subscribe. Listen, I'm trying to reach 1,000 subscribers. It'd be nice if I could reach 1,000 subscribers before I go to Africa in 2 months. I'm on my way to Sierra Leone, West Africa, Lord willing, and I'm looking forward to have a great time. I would love to reach 2,000 subscribers, and only you can help me do that by giving me the thumbs up, liking, and also sharing. Hit that copy button, take the link, share it on your social media with somebody if you enjoy this content. And also leave a comment. Leave a comment if you serve as a caregiver to anybody in your family, or it doesn't even have to be a family member. If you serve as a caregiver, if you're able to be there in somebody's life to help them out, leave a comment. Share about that. Whether it was your parents, your grandparents, your great grandparents, your second great grandparents, an aunt, an uncle, a elderly brother and sister, or whatever. Drop a note in the comments. I would love to hear about it. We could chat it up. And so I appreciate you. Also, be sure to follow me on Instagram at Deshawn JG. Also, you can follow me on Facebook at Deshawn J Gandy. And once again, ladies and gentlemen, I am the Ancestry Chronicler, Deshawn J Gandy. Peace, peace, peace. Thank you.